We will be going live at 3:30 p.m., folks. Please let me know if you could hear me on the chat so that we can get going right at 3:30. Just wanted to check again. Let me know if in the chat if you could hear me. If we have any kind of people that are up here, just give me a heads up. Let me know if we are if you could hear me. So we get going right at 3:30. In the chat, please let me know if you could hear me so we can go live at 3:30. That's in 9 minutes. So if you can just throw in the chat, we could hear you. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Getting ready to go live in about 5 minutes. Here's we're getting to waiting for Don Fisher to get through his post game show, and then we will be live on the chat. If you could please just let me know if you could hear me just fine. That would be a huge help, so that we know that you're loud and clear, and we could get the show going in just a few minutes. Phone lines will open at right at 3:30 as we start the show. So please give me a call or come and visit me over on the corner of 17th and Woodlawn, right by the gate 4 sign. Want to hear from you, want to talk to people, and looking forward to it. Got some people that are walking by. Excellent. Thank you. So you could hear me. That's fantastic. Hopefully, we're not running into a wind problem either. I could turn my head around and try to do something with that. Be back in just a couple minutes. Just 3 minutes to live. 2 minutes till live. So looking forward right at 3:30 we go live. Be on for as long as you guys want to. Looking forward to it. And I'll take phone calls as well as talk to anybody who wants to, who's waiting to leave the ball game. So going to go live in less than 2 minutes. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live as Indiana welcomes Washington to the Sig 10 with a 31-17 win over the Huskies in a game that was Indiana's most challenging to date. However, the Indiana Hoosiers took care of business and did it through their rushing attack. 52 carries on the day, for 188 yards. Justice Ellison with 29 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown. That running game really went a long way toward taking the pressure off of backup quarterback Taven Jackson, who came in and went 11 of 19 for 124 yards and a touchdown. He did throw an interception, made a couple of other uh, throws that probably he wants back. This game also saw Indiana play not its best defensive game of the year. The Hoosiers win. They only give up 17 points. Uh, but a lot of missed tackles, a lot of times when guys have been getting put on the ground at first contact, this time Indiana wasn't doing as good a job of that, of just getting guys to the ground. Now, that said, Indiana also ran the ball, put together some long drives, and really made Washington earn everything that it did along the way. Uh, 31-17, Hoosiers are 8-0. 8-0 and remain in first place in the Big Ten. The number 812-393-2600. Or if you're out here at Memorial Stadium, we have a microphone that you can come and say hi, have your own comments for you. How's it going, folks? Looking forward to hearing from people, and we already have a caller on the line waiting for us. Uh, Go ahead, caller, if you could tell us your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, great to hear you. This is Dan, Dan Carell. I just want to say, so excited for the students, for folks like you who've been covering this program for years. We've seen the downtimes for sure. Game like today, where last year's team or even Tom Allen's best teams, maybe they kind of crumble in some of those situations, and especially in the second half, they just you know. Uh, they put all their faith in the running game, and it paid off handsomely. And I just was reminded that my dad went to Wisconsin for grad school, and I think I took him to. I think it was in '09. Indiana hosted Wisconsin. I took him to the game with me.
Yeah.
He even stood with me in the student section. But I remember going back to WIUX afterwards to my radio sports show, and he said, I know Indiana got, roughed up today, but all it takes is getting one good coach, and it'll turn things around. And, that's what we see here. Scott Bolton absolutely nailed this hire. Chris Signetti is the right person. And, I'm just going to enjoy it while I can. Hopefully he stays for a while, but I'm sure lots of tools are good. Yeah, just an incredible performance. Gutsy, like you said, post game, and just so happy for the students that they get to enjoy a good football team.
Yeah, it certainly is great, and I appreciate the call, Dan. This is I said it in my podcast earlier this week that this is as good as it gets right now. I mean, this is not only is Indiana undefeated, but the expectations this year were nowhere near where the Hoosiers are right now. And so going forward next year, people have seen what can be done. They've felt this feeling and enjoyed it. And so the expectations are going to be higher right now. I did a whole show last week for an hour I was on. I never talked about the fact that Indiana was in first place in the Big Ten, how it would impact their rankings, how it would impact college football playoff, which is just bananas to think about, considering where we're thinking at the start of the season. And I'm just not mentally equipped to deal with this kind of success for IU because I'm not thinking in that way. They're doing it, and they're doing it, and it's been a exciting time. And it's great to see the sold out stadium. It's great to see the energy. It's great to see college game day out here. Everything that goes along with it. It has been absolutely fantastic. 812-393-2600. We have some folks that are coming in and just walking by, leaving the game. Just give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey Ken, this is Neil Hood, now from Kansas City, but originally from Seymour, Indiana. And I think that looking at this game today, two things. The punt return and the interception changed the game, this particular game. Glad to see Jackson get the W. It The path to 11-0 rolling into Columbus, Ohio seems to be a little bit more harder now. based off the offense that we see today, they're going to have to run the ball. And every team's going to know that moving forward. Uh, how does the offense change going up to Michigan State next week compared to what we saw coming out in the first quarter?
Well, certainly, I think that, the biggest key there, you know what, and here's what I'm going to have you do. That microphone wasn't on, so go ahead and ask your question again.
All right, buddy. Sorry about that.
Oh, that was my fault.
This is Neil Hood, originally from Seymour, Indiana, now from Kansas City. And looking at this game today, the two plays that changed the outcome of the game was one, the punt return, and then two, that interception, right? Without those two plays, I'm not sure we have the same outcome, at least the same margin of defeat that we had today. Going into next week, how does that offensive strategy change going up to Michigan State? They're going to know we got to run the ball. How do they change things going up to East Lansing?
Well, I really think that a big part of it is that, it depends on who the quarterback is. And that's going to be a big part of it. I know that the idea is that, the hope that Curtis Rourke will be back, and available for Michigan State. And they'll be very, very excited about that. It just really depends. That what I thought was great today was they put together a nice game plan that they knew they had to run the ball. Washington was not doing a good job of stopping the run. And in the first half, they actually did do a good job with that. Now, they were able to just wear them down. And I ask you a question. When's the last time you've seen an IU team just absolutely dominate a team, and take control as you get to the third and fourth quarter and just wear a team down?
I've been coming to games for 25 years. I've never seen this.
Yeah.
I mean, not week to week. There's been over the last couple of decades, you've had a couple of games where it's like third quarter, fourth quarter, you're feeling confident. That's rare. And so, yeah, no, this is something that it is incredible to see the culture change here. It is incredible to see the paradigm shift. We, as longtime IU fans, we've been burned so many times before. You almost feel silly starting to buy in, but at the same time, like, how do you not buy in at this point? This is incredible. That's incredible.
I'll ask you another question just about how you had a moment there coming out of out of halftime in which a bad interception, you have a score right away. All of a sudden, it's 17-14. I felt like the energy in the building was one of just a collective. Yeah, and so just being able to overcome that, I think, is really important.
It was a different atmosphere today compared to the big noon kickoff game, compared to the Maryland game. There was a different energy in the stadium today, and it was an absolute domination from the beginning. And there was some uncertainty heading into today. But, like, at the end of the day, that place was pretty packed when Coach was walking off the field, and they gave him a good ovation. So, I think Hoosier Nation has responded. People have bought in. We are a football school. We're a football state. It's time to show it to people.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Thanks so much.
All right. 812-393-2600 is the number. We're going to go to the phones right now. It's bringing a caller. Caller, if you could go ahead and give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah. It's Brad from Austin, Texas, man. It was great to see you last weekend.
Great to hear you.
Yeah. Good to be here. I'll tell you what, it's obviously a great win, but a lot of adversity. The way the offensive line plays, gotta say their names. Carter Smith, Trey Wedding, Trey Lynch, Drew Evans, Mike Hayek. Those are the undersung heroes of this team right now, man. I don't know what Coach Boston's doing to get them to play the way they are, but man, they are very underrated, in my opinion.
Today it wasn't great. Yeah, they've done a fantastic job, and like I said, they dominated in a way that we haven't really seen so far this year, and I think that it's really exciting to see what they're able to do, being able to just control the line of scrimmage. I mean, look, they had a drive of 19 plays. They had another one, I think, of 14 plays, and a 14-play scoring drive that they ran the ball 11 times. And when you could do that, you could wear teams down, and it doesn't make a difference who the quarterback is. You do need, I think, a little bit better play from the backup, but he did what was asked of him and didn't make any major mistakes outside of the bad throw that was picked off. Other than that, this was a great job by this Hoosier team. The defense led the way today, even as the offense ground people down. And I think that was just shows kind of the balance that this team has and is reason for encouragement going forward. Thanks again for the call. Thank you from Austin, Texas. Really appreciate it. 812-393-2600. So we have another one, in-person guest to join us here. Give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah, I'm Brett from Huntingburg, Indiana.
Love Huntingburg, Indiana.
Yeah.
Gone to see the Des Moines County Bombers down there.
Yeah,
Love that ballpark.
Proud of them. We're proud of that whole county. So it's a great athletic county. A lot of good high school athletics and a lot of good people. But
just had some German food down there last weekend.
Schnitzelbank.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
A lot of good fried chicken down in that area. I just wanted to comment that, man, that was fun today. And, I felt like the fans expected a win. I mean, they just are starting to expect wins. And I thought today was a good test because it was kind of a difficult win. It was, it was in doubt. Washington, moved the ball. Indiana, it wasn't a blowout game, and they fought and they found a way to win and they found a way to finish it at the end. So, just a super impressive football team and what a ride it's been. And we're just trying to soak it up here at IU, obviously. And now I guess we go to Michigan State, and that'll be a whole new challenge on the road against a really quality opponent.
You mentioned just the belief and expecting to win. Certainly that's something that I've been is key for any team is to expect to win on Saturday and not hope to win. That change in the feeling for the fans is really a huge step to me because of the fact that Indiana has had so much disappointment over the years that being able to get people to believe gets them in the building sooner, makes them stay longer. All of that has to come back to just lift the team up, and it seems like that was the case today.
Winning's fun. Winning is fun, and it's like you said, the fans have kind of caught that culture, that attitude that Signetti has brought in, that the players have bought into, and everybody's buying into it. Why not us? As they continue to win, I think people are like, why not? Why not Indiana? And you're starting to realize that they play hard, and what I'm impressed with Indiana is they don't beat themselves. They're sound and they play hard. They're tough kids, and I've never seen an attitude change in such a short amount of time. But as I'm sure you've heard, and I have too, that the mental side of sports is huge.
Absolutely.
The mental side of sports is huge, and expecting to win and really believing you're going to win sure increases the chances you will. So it's been a great ride.
Well, it's Coach Hap had us. You think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. And that's a big part of what has happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And people are having fun with it. And, I mean, like I said, they go on the road this week. That's going to be a challenge. That's going to be, on the road, good team late in the season. And we'll see what happens there. And then you come back, and I think Michigan at home. And so there's a lot of potential out there, a lot of excitement that just continues to build. And it's just fun to be a part of it. It really is. And you guys do a great job.
Appreciate that.
To you all the time. And just keep doing what you guys do, and appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The number 812-393-2600. Lines are open, so we're looking to hear from you. Normally have a more lively chat than we do today. I don't know if there's some kind of issue going on with that. It is a gorgeous day here in Bloomington and in the surrounding area. But I'm happy to answer your questions on the chat. If you can swing by here on the corner of 17th and Woodlawn, right by the Gate 4 sign, we have a microphone here for you. You're able to go ahead and chat it up. But Indiana, with the 31-17 win over Washington, like I said, they welcomed them to the Sig 10 as the Hoosiers are now 5-0 in the Big Ten and 8-0 overall. Depending on what happens to the teams on top of them, you got a real good chance that the Hoosiers will move up in the rankings. Nobody's asking questions anymore about if this team is real. They're real. They're damn real, and it's a ton of fun to watch because they've beaten teams in multiple ways. Whether it is uh, whether you're talking about uh, the running game taking care of business today, the passing game taking care of business in other realms, all of that kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun to watch, to say the least. 812-393-2600. College game day was here. The atmosphere was off the charts. We got somebody go ahead and pump it up over here. You can come over and chat me up over here if you want to. Want to get your thoughts on the game over here on the Peegs Postgame Live?
Really?
Yeah, there you go.
Right now?
Yeah, what's your name?
I'm Hector. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Hector.
So, been up since 7 p.m. last night. We drove from Oxford, Ohio at 3 a.m. to be here. So,
That's fantastic. Enjoy the game?
we don't get this experience in Miami of Ohio. So this was awesome.
Well, certainly, what impressed you the most today? And what are your thoughts on the season in general?
I thought the defense looked awesome today because the offense started slow, obviously with Rourke out, but I thought that pick at the start, really just kicked off. Not the offense didn't have to do much. I thought the running game was solid, and they just did what they had to do, and the defense did. The defense won the game, and I thought the offense did what they had to do to just make sure it wasn't close. So,
well, and the game day experience, what was that with college game day?
oh, that was awesome. I was a punter in high school, so I've always loved McAfee, and I thought it was like first time for me being at game day, first time game day being here. That's why we left at 3 a.m. I thought it was electric all morning, and it was awesome.
Well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I
thank you so
appreciate it,
much.
buddy.
Have a good show.
All right. Safe travel back to Miami of Ohio.
Go back to the bar.
812-393-2600 is the number as the Hoosiers 31-17 winners over Washington. Again, Taven Jackson, 11 of 19 passing for 124 yards and a touchdown. He had an interception. I mentioned earlier just about winning different ways, and we've seen Curtis Rourke put up big passing numbers along the way. This one, the run game took center stage. From a receiving standpoint, though, you had Miles Price, 2 catches for 30 yards. Zach Horton, 2 catches for 14 yards. Omar Cooper, 1 catch, but it was a 42-yard touchdown. Hoosiers really distributed their 11 passes to 9 different receivers. Nobody had more than 2. Makes a big difference. And Indiana's run game took care of business when it needed to. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got a call here. Caller, if you go ahead and give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Jacob Korn from Seymour, Indiana. This guy, Coach Signetti, has given you zero chance to doubt him. I mean, we're 100% in. You should expect to win until you hear otherwise. There's no doubt.
Well, and that, I've actually talked about that, with some of my colleagues around here in the press box, that let's say Indiana was down at halftime, and that's not something that's happened this year. If Sig looks at his players and says, all right, this is what we're going to do, there isn't a guy in that locker room that's going to look at the guy next to him and go, what the hell is he talking about? Everybody's going to believe what he's selling because everything that he has sold to this point has come true, and that goes a long way.
I mean, you're talking about a complete difference from watching IU. I've been 33 years been watching IU. I took my son, and there was never a doubt in my mind with 2v2 that we were going to go down there and take care of this game. It was beautiful.
It goes a long way towards just convincing people that all of this is real. I know that I'm convinced, and I know that the fans are getting there as well. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of the season.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
812-393-2600 is the number. Just a wonderful atmosphere. And this is something that Kurt Signetti talked about on game day. He said that this is a fan base that has been starved for this. And there's no question he's exactly right. I mean, this is a fan base, and I've said for years on the call-in show that absolutely their fans have been dying, just dying to have this. and to enjoy this. And that's exactly, what they're dealing with. And I'm uh, people starting to believe makes a huge difference. Now, going on the road next week certainly is going to be a challenge, to say the least. But really, you look at what this team has done to this point, they'll be favored against Michigan State. Doesn't make a difference that it's on the road. And there doesn't make a difference that this team, uh, this team is going to be prepared. The coaching staff is going to have this team prepared. And uh, there's no reason to doubt, what has been going on. Uh, it's exciting to watch. Now, obviously, the question is Curtis Rourke and whether he will be back in time for next week's game. He had surgery last Monday. Had to get some repairs on that thumb. So basically, it's going to come down to whether or not the Hoosiers are able, or Rourke is able to grip the football. But it's not a long-term thing. So if you could have Taven Jackson, who built up a lot of experience today, if you could continue to have him, if he has to go, be able to lean on him to keep this thing rolling. In the meantime, while Curtis gets back, I just, it is just really, really important. And I said this earlier, in case you're tuning in late. This is as good as it gets, folks. 8-0. You came into the season without a ton of expectations, and Indiana has done a fantastic job of just making your football dreams come true to this point. 8-0. They will be favored to go 9-0, and you have Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue coming up in the next couple of weeks. Um, Obviously, it's just a great time to be Indiana fan. 812-393-2600 is the number. There is lines are open right now. Uh, uh, Jackson on the chat says on one of the broadcasts, I heard them say Curtis started throwing again either today or yesterday. It's a matter of him being able to do it as soon as possible because they want to get him back, and I know he wants to get back as well. His last season of college football, you have his draft stock is something that is something that uh, he's going to be focused on. And as long as he could play, as long as he could do it comfortably, he's going to get back. The Hoosiers' offense was unquestionably different without him today. The run game made up for it. And again, that run game over time did a fantastic job of just wearing Washington's defense down. So that by the time you got to the end of the end of the fourth quarter, Washington was gassed, and Indiana had just overwhelmed them. On the day, it is interesting. Washington actually outgained the Hoosiers 318 to 312, but IU outgained Washington on the ground 188 to 116. The pass game wasn't a big deal, but the Hoosiers also didn't beat themselves. Just one penalty on the day for 5 yards. It was a false start very early in the game, and the Hoosiers didn't have a problem from then on out. 8 of 15 on third down, while only being 3 of 11 on third down defensively. That in and of itself is really important because the Hoosiers were able to get off the field, and they got off the field quickly as well. And that made a huge difference right there as Indiana moves to 8-0 on the season. Um, Again, 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, Feel free to go ahead on the chat and ask me a question that we got here. Uh, just a fun Saturday, just a very, very fun Saturday out at Memorial Stadium. So excited to see what has been going on and the excitement of everything that has happened. And now going forward, we could talk about where Indiana is from a standings standpoint, from a ranking standpoint. It depends on what happens in front of them, to the teams above them. But it's real easy to justify any kind of votes for Indiana being in the top 10. You want them to be balanced? Well, that defense is damn good. The offense has gotten the job done in multiple ways. Special teams made some things happen. And the fact that they are getting it from all three phases of the game shows you what is possible. and it allows people to dream because everything that is happening, it's real. It is real. And so now Big Noon kickoff is a Big Noon Saturday or whatever it is, has been here. College game day has been here. Those experiences have happened, and now you could just kind of focus on the football as a fan base. Although I got to say, if you get to the point in the season where you're taking on Ohio State and Indiana is undefeated at that time, you could have a lot more attention coming their way as well. It is just that there's no more excuses about Indiana isn't for real. Indiana hasn't played tough teams, anything else that goes along with it, because it is absolutely the case that the Hoosiers have taken care of business in every single way possible. And it's just incredibly exciting to see. Incredibly exciting to see. 812-393-2600 is the number. Go ahead and throw some questions in chat if you don't feel like picking up a phone and calling. You could also visit me on the corner of 17th and Woodlawn, right by the Gate 4 sign. We got a microphone out here. We're happy to talk to people live, as we've been able to do a little bit today. We're over here by the fantastic Dave Nergy, and his tailgate has gone a long way towards being able to host us and allowing us to be a part of their tailgate here. It has really been great. It's really been great. 812-393-2600. Did you want to get on the mic, Ed? Nope. All right. Did you? All right. Good. Give me your name and what you got.
My name's Drew Nergy. I just had a question about, I'm not sure if you talked about this already. Obviously, Curtis Rourke being out was seen as a big deal. There were signs this game that it made an impact, but I think Taven did a good job stepping in. We won by 2 touchdowns still against a good Washington team. I guess report card wise, what do you think Taven did well? What do you think he could work on? And I guess thoughts on Michigan State.
Well, Taven's decision making, I think, was the biggest part of it, just because of the fact that he made some bad reads along the way, tried to force some things, and that's a young quarterback. That is somebody, he had some starting experience last year. They could coach him up, and until you are live like that, the interception he threw that was tipped and then intercepted was to open the second half. That was a bad throw. Is a bad choice. But he bounced back from that eventually. He made some nice throws along the way. And so it's kind of all of that in development. And being able to play right now is also part of what Indiana is going to be doing at quarterback in the future. Because as you know, Rourke can only be here this year. Going forward, is Taven going to be that guy to step up next year? Is it going to be somebody else? The coaching staff needs to see this, because they weren't somebody that recruited him here. Obviously, they've watched all the tape on him. You have to make that kind of decision there. In terms of Rourke's return, as soon as that thumb is comfortable enough for him to play with, he'll be back. If that's against Michigan State, if that's in the future, don't know, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. What Indiana showed today was that they could beat a team just by pounding it and being able to get the job done there. You don't always have to count on your quarterback to make a play. They could pound the ball, they can play some defense, get some stops, and all of that makes a really big difference. And so the Hoosiers picking up this win was I think very good for this team, because of the fact that it was a little bit tougher. And it ain't going to get easier. So being able to pick up a tough win, I think, is really, really important.
Being there were times where we were doing a read option or an RPO where I did notice Taven made the wrong read, or objectively maybe not the optimal read. Specifically in the first half, I think in the second half he had a better one. He scored a touchdown by holding the ball,
right?
Because they weren't even sending a guy to read to spy on him, because he was just hand the ball off every time. So I think that speaks volumes about Sig's coaching ability. And, I'm sure they said something about at halftime about, hey,
sure,
make better reads, keep the ball sometimes. And I think, the fact that I'm talking about things that went wrong in a game where we're 8-0 against a good Washington team that might not be as good as they were last year playing in the national championship, but they're still a good team that beat Michigan. It speaks volumes about what's going on here in Bloomington. I just hope we have the ability to keep Coach Sig in Bloomington at least another year, if not, for several years down the road. I'm a little bit worried.
I'm not. Here's why. The man's 63 years old.
True.
Okay, he has
True.
bounced around to a lot of different things, and I know people
Yeah.
talk about Florida, they talk about different jobs.
Yeah.
You're coaching in the Big Ten.
Yep.
It's clear that the support is here.
Yeah.
College game day has been here.
Yeah.
All this, you can obviously win games here.
Yeah, and if you look at schools like Auburn, they have that's obviously a big hire as SEC, but their pressure there, it's unreal. It's unreal. They fired their coach in the middle of his second year, and they might do it again here. Maybe might give him till the end of the season. So I think that's my biggest. The strongest part about IU is our expectations used to be if you go 6-6, you're going to stay here.
Yeah. And money isn't everything, and it's one thing if you're a young coach and you're trying to build up. He's 63 years old. He's not a young coach, and moving around, he's had to move around a lot. So I would be extremely surprised if that was the case. That if he was able to be lured away, you could throw a bank of money at somebody, but it isn't everything.
And I do think, regardless of whether it's as important as we think it is, I think regardless, we are going to throw a lot of money at him.
Oh, sure.
He's the fact that he's
earned it.
He's earned it, and he's making us a lot of money by selling out these crowds. The concessions took a serious upgrade out this offseason. We're making a lot of money as a university from him being our coach. I don't see us not matching any offer he gets from any other school. And if that's the case, I don't see him leaving if we match an offer, just because of he's already established himself here as one of the best coaches ever at IU in 1 year. So yeah, I'm optimistic about him staying, but there's always that thought in the back of my mind where that it's a little bit worrisome being seen as the doorstep or the stepping stone of the Big Ten for as long as we have been.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's just being an IU fan and just worrying about having nice things.
Yep.
Because you have a good player and he might get hurt. He might go somewhere. Something happens. Feels like Indiana fans have had the rug pulled out from under them a lot of times. But boy, this just does. It feels different.
Yeah, I'm 21. I've only witnessed. If you exclude the COVID year, I've only witnessed 2 winning seasons until now, being 2007, which I was 3.5 years old.
Oh my God.
So that I don't remember. The only one I really remember was 2019, which was legit. 2020, obviously, but that was, half a season. Even compared to those seasons, this feels night and day different because, we were like, what were we, 8-4 or 8-5 at the end of it after that season, but we're 8-0 now.
Yeah.
The worst we could do is 8-5.
Yeah, and that's if you lose a bowl.
We lose everything. So, I mean, I don't see a possibility for us to lose 3 games left. I mean, we have Michigan State. I mean, I think we're going to be favored by at least 10, probably 2 touchdowns. Michigan State. Purdue's pretty much a lock. And then every week, going up to Ohio State, they only beat Nebraska by 4. We beat them by 49. I know that's not everything in the picture, but it kind of speaks about, hey, maybe Ohio State isn't as invincible as we thought. So,
well, certainly appreciate the insight. Thank you so much. Thanks for getting on the mic, and fantastic meeting you. Take care. 812-393-2600 is the number. We have a chat question. When does IU add 30,000 seats to Memorial Stadium like Coach Sig mentioned? Well, I might be the right guy to ask about this because I know a lot about the construction of Memorial Stadium because I've written a pretty big article on it several years ago. And I'll tell you this much: structurally, that would be very difficult to do. I think it would take a lot of engineering and a lot of that goes into it. But now that said, you got to do this a couple years before you start adding 80,000 seats. But it's in the right direction, and that is part of what Sig was talking about, is just being able to dream of that and justify it. And you've only had now, this is 2 or 3 sellouts now, but the rest of the season is sold out. Any kind of planning for that kind of thing takes time, and if he's thinking about that as something that he can build on going forward, I think that's a really, really great attitude on his part, because I know that fans would love that as well. You got to fill those seats, and it started with getting people to the game, getting them to stay to the game, and you have sellouts and a great energy, everything that goes along with it. We're here with that. So, now you just now do it. Now do it again and again and again. 812-393-2600. We have another guest here live with us. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you need?
So I actually grew up right here in Bloomington. My name is Kenan Dalmaracious.
Okay.
I've experienced so many different IU football teams in my life, and this is truly one of the best ones that I've been able to experience in person. The 2020 team was awesome. I absolutely love that team. But coming
go to the
in
game.
and being able to experience something like this is what we would have experienced if we were able to have fans that year. And you know what? Yes, it was a different coach. We have a really, really great coach right now. Somebody that I believe is the perfect fit for a program like this. Somebody who's gone into programs that have had off years, that have had, or even sometimes many off years, and being able to turn them around. And him just mentioning, like you had said earlier, mentioning about, adding more seats to Memorial Stadium, that speaks volumes to how much commitment he has to the IU program, being able to just say, hey, you know what? I want to be able to pack this stadium out a lot more. I want to have more fans here. I want to be here for it. Because no coach is going to talk about adding more seats to a stadium if they don't plan on being here long term.
Right.
And today, I think he did a really good job. I mean, we still won the game. We won by 14 points. Everybody had us, I know the betting lines were about 6.5. We won by 2 touchdowns. Today was one of the greatest games that I've seen. And just being able to know that, hey, our defense played great. Pond's getting a 67-yard touchdown, pick 6 in the first quarter really boosted our team.
Sure.
And then having somebody like Justice Ellison, he got 23 passing yards, I believe, today.
Rushing yards. Yeah.
Or rushing yards, sorry. That's my fault. 123 rushing yards and 120 passing yards from Taven Jackson. He only had 1 less yard than our quarterback did in terms of passing yards, and he had that on the ground.
Right.
Now, Washington had around, I believe it was like the 66th worst pass defense in the country, and I think that was our key today, was being able to actually be able to put the ball on the ground, run up the middle, being able to get just our running backs really going. I mean, Ellison having even over 100 yards is a great game, and having at least a single touchdown has been awesome.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go ahead and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ellison may have had 100 yards in the second half alone. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's something that I had seen. And the simple fact that let's see, in the first half, Indiana had a total of 56 rushing yards, and I'm not sure exactly what the breakdown was with Ellison, but it was impressive the way that they were able to just wear Washington down. Because early in the game, Indiana was not running the ball very well. And I had predicted beforehand that they'd put 250 on the ground because Washington had not done a great job against the run this year. But as the game wore on, and even though they were stacking the box, you had times when there were no linebackers there, and Indiana still ran the ball, and they could have used those linebackers on the second level because that offensive line and that run game got guys to the second level, and there was nobody there.
Exactly. And, our rushing offense has been amazing all year. It really has. And being able to do this without our star quarterback, a Heisman candidate, somebody who has brought a lot of fire to this team, been able to make those really, really tight passes into tight pockets where, most quarterbacks would not be able to make those passes.
Right.
And then having receivers like Cross and Surratt and, really everybody, Omar Cooper, having his big touchdown today, that was a really big, and that was awesome too.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything that we have been able to do today. I mean, being able to watch the past couple years of IU football and really seeing how we have played. I mean, I grew up mainly being able to comprehend and watch and understand the Nate Sudfeld times.
Sure.
Those were awesome. Nate Sudfeld is still in the league.
Right.
He is playing in the NFL. He's a backup on his teams, but he is playing in the NFL. I think Signetti is somebody that is going to be able to bring another one of those quarterbacks to us, where we're going to have somebody. And honestly, I think Rourke could be one of those starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And I also believe Taven, whenever he is able to start a full season again, I think that is going to be another one of our quarterbacks that we're going to have in the NFL that's going to be able to do really good. And Ellison, him doing really good on the ground today. And he had over 100 yards in the second half.
I believe that is the case.
About over 100 yards in the second half. If that is the case, that is a great thing to do, especially considering we were up at half. Having us be able to just put the ball on the ground, run some clock out, still get yardage, get points. That is a big thing that we, as a team, it's gonna really carry us in the long run. Being able to put up an early lead in the first half, come out second half, put the ball on the ground, run it into the end zone, and not just run clock out and not just get the ball back, but putting more points on the board.
Yeah.
That is something that is going to be really big for our team coming in the next couple of games, especially against Ohio State. If we can keep doing that, I believe that this team really, really could be one of those top seeds in the college football playoff. I think an Ohio State win would be really big. Us beating Nebraska 56-7, and then now seeing that Ohio State had only beaten them by one, maybe a half a score today,
Yeah.
I believe was the final score, was 21-7. Having them only beat Nebraska by that much shows numbers about how good our team really is. Going into the Horseshoe, I believe that is going to be one of the best games in college football all year.
Now, we will see how it all plays out. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. 812-393-2600. Thanks so much for the thoughts. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, give us a call. Lines are open, and I will now bring in Peegs.com's own Trevor Andershock to give his thoughts. Trevor, just we watched this game. What was the attitude of the players and everything that went down in the postgame?
I didn't see too much of that so far, Ken. I was still up in the press box, but I did like that Kurt Cignetti said, we are what our record says we are, and he gave a little wink afterwards. I think that kind of sums up what he's all about. He takes it one step at a time, but he is confident at all times as well. And I think that's kind of what the players feed off of and why they are 8-0 so far.
It wasn't the prettiest game today, but what impressed you and what concerned you?
The biggest thing, just sticking with it. We talked about it up at the press box. Taven Jackson did not look super comfortable. He just wasn't going through reads. Didn't quite have the same poise he had against Nebraska last week. I think that's partly because you have a week to think about it. You weren't just thrown into the mix and kind of going off of your natural instincts there. But I did like that he stuck with it, got that touchdown late on the keeper, something that you probably saw at the end of the first half, made the adjustment to keep the ball when he had a few opportunities in the first half, that final possession where they got stuffed at the 1 yard line. He probably could have kept it a few times there. He ends up keeping it in the fourth quarter and getting the ceiling touchdown. I thought that was a really good sign. Again, the defense, they have their missteps, not always the best tacklers, but they seem to come up with the big play when they need it. Third and fourth down, it seems like they really step up and get off the field without the other team scoring so often. That just continues to impress me. I thought it could be Achilles' heel at some point where, you're giving up so many yards. It should lead to more points, but this team just seems to get off the field when they need to.
Well, you mentioned that sequence at the end of the first half where Indiana just could not punch the ball in to the end zone. That's one of those things that as you end up winning the ball game and winning it comfortably, still by a couple of touchdowns, that to me is one of those things where Sig will spend the week talking about how we have to be physical, how we have to finish drives, we have to do things like that, because of the fact that he doesn't want these guys to get any kind of big head or anything. That is one area that he could say, we could have been better here. And there were other times where they did end up scoring, but it was maybe a little bit more difficult than they expected. Part of that was because Washington knew damn well they were going to run the ball, and so they were really stacking the box. But that, to me, is something that Sig can focus on, and is one of his strengths as a coach.
Yeah, and that also brings up Justice Ellison's second half, where he was just running through guys, getting the extra 2 or 3 yards on every carry. They did not have the big holes they had against Nebraska today.
Right.
But Ellison was still able to keep trucking, get 129 yards on the ground when they were stacking the box against him. I thought that was super impressive.
Did I see that right? That he got 100 in the second half alone? I can't remember. I could be dead wrong on that, but I felt like I saw
Yeah, I
something
don't think it was
about that.
quite that much, but it was a good chunk for
Yeah.
sure.
So where do they go from here? Obviously outside of East Lansing.
Yeah. I mean, I think Michigan State could be, everybody's circling the Ohio State game, but I'm circling Michigan State next week. I think that's really the game that either seals their maybe possible spot in the playoff or, they come back to earth a little bit. Obviously, if Curtis Rourke is able to go, that's a huge change for IU. But I think next week is just a monster game for him.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We have some people yelling at us along the way, which I love to see. I love it. That's absolutely fantastic. Trevor, thank you so much for
Appreciate
stopping
it,
by.
kid. This is a great spot you got over here.
This is nice, and what I got to do is I got to get a banner to go ahead and put out here so people know what the hell I'm doing over here. Otherwise, I'm just a fat guy with a headset on,
just talking to yourself over here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. 812-393-2600 is the number. We'll stay on the air for just a few more minutes, I think, because we're kind of wrapping things up. There's a lot of traffic still around. That's great to see. But you got more to say? All right, go ahead.
Hey, it's Drew again. I just wanted to do something really quick. I wanted to highlight that it's going to be November for our next game, and we haven't trailed.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know there's that 1967 season where we second time we've been 8-0, but I can guarantee you that in that season we had trailed at some point before November, and the fact that it's going to be November we haven't trailed, that is absolutely unreal. I think that there's only like 4 or 5 teams now that haven't trailed all year.
Yeah, and there's another stat. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. If I'm not mistaken, Indiana has Indiana still not given up a point in the first quarter this year? I want to say
Washington
that's the
didn't
case.
score a touchdown.
They didn't
not
score.
a field goal either. Yeah, I don't think they did.
Which is amazing that you get off to that kind of season. Let's see. I'm trying to look at the quarter. No, Indiana has outscored, and I don't know if this is updated. It is not. But I know Indiana scored 7 points.
Yeah.
So Indiana has now outscored its opponents 87-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And just getting off to a good start is really key. And that is it's critical.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is his first year. He's still building this team. I know the transfer portal changes things, and it's not as prevalent to recruit as heavily in high school, but he hasn't recruited his guys yet from high school, and he's going to have more portal classes. This is year one, kind of in a scramble, finding guys to fit the program. It's not going to get any worse. It's going to get, if anything, it's going to get better at IU here in the next coming years.
You can't really ask for better than that.
Yeah.
What we were talking about earlier, somebody in the chat says 63 years old is a bad thing too. There's a very finite amount of time to make as much money as you can anywhere you go and stay. If we don't pay him, he won't stay. I agree with that. Now, that said, there is also a limit to that because my attitude is always, what can I do for for 10 million that I can't do for 9 or do for 8? I mean, there's a certain part of that, and and plus Indiana knows how just adding in, how important it's going to be to hold on to them.
Yeah, and then when you come, I mean, he's 65 is typically the retirement age in the U.S. I don't see him retiring at 65, being 63. And money. I'm not Coach Sig, but I'm not sure if money plays as big of a role now as it would have 20 years ago for him.
Sure.
I mean, he's already making millions of dollars here. It's not like he's making chump change here, and so any offer he would get from somewhere else would be a lot more. But he's already making millions of dollars, so.
And there's something to be said for sticking with something that got you. You look at Mark Few at Gonzaga in basketball.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that had plenty of opportunities to go elsewhere. He chose to stay, and there's a lot of coaches that are the new hot coach, and he can go and make more money, but then you flame out. To me, this is something they'll build a statue of this man if he keeps up this level of play.
I was talking about with my friends. I mean, the fact that this is honestly. People have seen this as a quote unquote impossible job in the last ever at IU football, but Now, being in his situation, it might be the perfect job for him because he knows the pressure is not going to be as high as a job like Auburn or as Florida. But at the same time, it's still a Big Ten school. He has the
Sure.
resources he needs. He's going to get whatever he wants when it comes to resources from the school. And the expectations aren't that high. So a combination of both of those, I think it's a perfect recipe.
And you're already competing at a very, very high level
Exactly.
right now, and you've been
Yeah.
here for 8 games.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Yeah. All right. Thank you
Nice.
so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. 812-393-2600 is the number. It's the last call for phone calls. We'll hand this back on over to Kenan and see that what he has to say.
I just wanted to add one more thing about
Sure.
what he had talked about and when you guys had touched on a little bit here about Kurt Signetti and how much, like the chances of him being, again, like they had said, plucked from another program.
Right.
I mean, a team in the Big Ten that he is leading and he has led to an 8-0 record, something that this school has never been able to really, really experience in a very long time. I mean, it has been a while since that has happened for this school, where we've had a coach and a team that has been able to be something that we can celebrate. And I fully believe just his confidence in what I had touched on earlier about, hey, he's like, oh, I want to add, maybe we could add 8,000 more seats into the stadium. We could add more people. I think that is something that really speaks to me as like, hey, he wants to be here. He wants to build this team up.
Yeah.
He wants to see us succeed. And like he had said, this might be his, I mean, like, this honestly could be his final stop as a college football coach. And I would absolutely enjoy that as him being our coach until he retires. And I could see us being one of the best teams that he has ever been able to coach. We're an FBS team. He brought in a team from FCS to FBS. He won them. I mean, come on. This is Kurt Signetti. Yeah. But
he's been extremely.
Thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. And it's just so tremendously exciting to see what Indiana's been able to do. 8-0 on the year, and I did not think that was something that I was going to be saying along the way. All this time, it's just so fantastic to be able to do just that. Something that I forgot to do, and this is because we got right into the calls and everything that goes along with it. I never brought you, for the people on the podcast that'll listen to the recording, I have not heard about that. Have not do not have. I'm sorry, I was being distracted there by one of our walkers by who having a tough time standing, let alone talking on the microphone. I think that was what he was shooting for there. But here's Kurt Signetti. If you're listening on the podcast, here's Kurt Signetti during his post-game press conference. So again, that is, I can't run that as it happens because of rights issues, but that's what it is if you're listening to it on the podcast. 31-17 is your final score from Memorial Stadium. Indiana at 8-0 on the season, 5-0 in the Big Ten. Just such an exciting time to be an Indiana fan. Indiana's secondary, by the way, had a couple of interceptions. They did allow Washington quarterbacks to go 19-27 for 202 yards. Didn't give up a ton of big plays through the passing game, but they had the 2 interceptions. And D'Angelo Pons was a man among boys, to say the least, when it came to that area. Got the job done. He very easily could end up being a defensive player of the year, defensive player of the week. I'm sorry, not defensive player of the year, but defensive player of the week. We have some fans right there waving a foam finger. It's a fun place out here at Memorial Stadium. Next week, or not next week, because they're going to be on the road, but next home game, I'll be back out here on the corner of 17th and Woodlawn, right by the Gate 4 sign. I'll try to have a banner there so people know what I'm doing. That's going to be really important. But the number, 812-393-2600. Let's see if we have anything new in the chat. Nothing new in the chat. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and wrap this up as the Hoosiers once again welcome Washington to the Sig 10 with a 31-17 win. Let's see where they are ranked next week. It's going to be a ton of fun. Michigan State is next on the schedule. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs postgame. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time. But for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.